You're listening to Create Wealth Through Franchising, and I'm your host, Kim Daly. In my 20 years as a franchise consultant, I've helped hundreds of people achieve their dreams of building and scaling franchise businesses to create wealth. The interview you're about to hear can also be found on my YouTube channel, where I post new franchising content multiple times per week. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and to my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv. Now, enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Daily Coach YouTube channel. Today, I have a daily double for you all. His name is Jason Olsen. You've seen him here before on Kim Daly TV. Jason, welcome back.
Kim, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. You're looking good as always.
Oh, same to you. So you're one of my favorite franchisors. My followers know this. Every one of my candidates knows that Image Studios 360 is one of my all-time favorite franchises. You guys want to know why? Because of this guy.
A lot of pressure.
Because of him, his partner, his system, and his model. So I thought it was worth bringing Jason back onto the show today. You know, we met Jason when he had just got to 100 units with his franchise, which was like a Herculean effort because this is a big investment. And because of what his business does, which we'll get to in a minute, it doesn't create jobs. So it doesn't qualify for SBA lending. So we had to bring people who had cash, and that's a big investment. So that was like really, really hard. But now they got to 100 units. Now what's happening to his business now that we have financing? Now that the bank will say, okay, you're serious, you're legit, we'll give you guys some money. So now what? So that's the conversation we want to have with Jason Olsen, co-founder of Image Studios 360. Jason, welcome to the conversation.
Kim, again, great to be here. But yeah, it's interesting. Everyone that wants to start a business would love to do that, right? Just no one wants to give you money till you've already started one business and have it proven out, which is always a tough thing because it's sort of that cart before horse. And so that's sort of what we went through in that early stage of growth, was trying to find a lending partner who would help franchisees who were looking to develop, get some financial assistance. And so, and for us as a brand, that was also the case. We had to get to a certain size to really open those doors for lending. So coming out of, I shouldn't say post-COVID, I say post-vaccine, because I don't know if COVID's ever leaving, unfortunately. But the opportunities have grown, especially for what we do. Our business at Image Studios is like WeWork or Regus. It's like executive office suites, but built for beauty professionals, people who are at a salon or a spa, like a hairstylist, a nail artist, an esthetician. They want to go start their own business. Our spaces are these executive beauty suites that are turnkey, so people can move in and operate their sole proprietorship business. So it's like a mini mall of beauty salons all under one roof, which is really cool and gives people a lot of a great opportunity. But again, coming out of COVID, a lot of salons were shut down for a long time. There was a lot of, concern going back to work with being next to people in chairs all across the salon. Clients were uncomfortable. And so what we found was this created a great opportunity where people in the industry said, I want to be in my own space. I want to have control over my things. And so there's been a big, huge growth curve that's gone on in the salon suite industry, which is really exciting because, again, I think you look at everything, timing's everything when you get into a new opportunity. And there's just so many great things going on right now across the industry. It's just fun to be a part of it.
It's so fun. It was like the perfect storm for you. I mean, getting to about 100 units just as big companies were leaving 5,000 square foot spaces, which made landlords incredibly aggressive for re-renting them to your franchise owners, right? And then, the beauty professionals wanting to be able to control the environment for themselves and their employees post COVID or coming back into work after COVID. And it created this perfect storm. And now we have financing available for Image Studios, which was just like, for me, it was a game changer to who I can present your opportunity to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting too. Just you mentioned something about these beauty pros that want to have their own space and to have their own control. And I think you look at what are the motives for anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur and start a business. And it's I think for the majority of people, it's to have control. But what is control? Great control is actually freedom, like the freedom to have control and to produce and predict outcomes in your at your own pace or at your own level. And I think that's what is so fun about what we do is what our business solves for our customers, our beauty professionals, is freedom, gives them complete freedom to do their own thing. But the same thing is true for our image owners, our franchisees, as they're getting into this because they want freedom. They don't want a 9 to 5. This is it's a very much a lifestyle business. It's a fun business to own. Once it's up and running, it's definitely not a full-time business. So it gives people tons of time to either keep doing what they want to do with their current job. It gives them a lot of opportunity to scale more of these if they want, or to just have more time with family. So it's great because everyone involved in the business model is driven by that number one thing of freedom, which is really what I think most entrepreneurs, that's their why.
It's what most people are looking for, right? Like who
Yeah.
who doesn't want more freedom? And money, yes, we all talk about money, but money just buys freedom. It buys choices, right? More money creates more options. So that's what we're looking for. I love that. And I find a lot of my best candidates through real estate clubs and investment groups. So I particularly work a lot with Image Studios 360 because a lot of the candidates that I'm working with are investor mentality. They own, multiple multifamily apartments. And what they love about this model is that it's something they're familiar with because it's like a real estate play, but it doesn't create any jobs, so they don't have to manage any people. And it does come with a very limited time commitment once it's up and going. So, like Jason said, you don't have to be full time, you don't have to leave another job or give up the other investments you may be invested in order to add this to your portfolio. Yes, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about so we're post vaccine. And how are things going right now? Like in this sort of uncertain time, there's lots of conversation about the uncertainty of what's to come next. What does that mean for your business, Jason?
Inflation's at the top of everybody's mind right now. Obviously, we've all seen prices go up in a lot of different sectors. Labor costs are going up. Wages are going up. So we're seeing probably a response to this. Many years of low wage growth, low prices, low interest, and this is now being corrected, especially with a lot of the stimulus that came out of the pandemic. So there's some uncertainty. There's some choppy waters right now in the economy. I think the difference of what we got now versus, say, the last recession is there's not mass layoffs going on right now, right? So the challenge is there's sort of a labor shortage. Inflation's rising, and so interest is going up, which is causing everything else to go up in its own way at its own pace. So we're seeing our biggest expense in this business is the build out. We're investing into an asset. You're building a space or outfitting a space that might have been an old Blockbuster or an old restaurant. Like you had said earlier, 5 to 7,000 square feet is typically the space. But costs are going up. And so what we're also seeing, though, is because the demand is rising in the beauty industry for these spaces, the rates that are being charged for these turnkey salon suites are also going up. So while one end of it might be rising with inflation, we're also seeing the end of our, the customer cycle of who's actually paying for these spaces. Those prices are actually going up at the same rate. So we're actually able to have margin preservation.
Which means my haircut's going up, Jason.
That's exactly right. Again, everything's
And my
going up.
manicure.
Yeah.
Do you have any good news for me today? Hey, Daily Coach fans, if this franchise sounds like a fit for you, I would love to be your Daily Coach. Email me right now for a totally free consultation at inquire@kimdaily.tv.
things are all going up in the right way. We're seeing, I think the big challenge that people need to be thinking about if they're thinking about getting into a business right now is how do you get into something that is going to have very little, if any, profit erosion or margin compression as time goes on. And so this is where, how do you make sure you preserve and have protection over making the money you want to make and not feeling like you're too susceptible to what market conditions are. And I think ideally, you had said a lot of people you talk to that are interested in this are in real estate investment groups. I think a real estate investor at their core is a very long-term thinker, is a long-term thinking person. They're a long-term investor. Long-term thinking, long-term actions get you long-term prizes, right? I think when people are thinking short-term, real estate investing is like, I don't know, maybe I'll do it, 5 years from now. Well, I think the problem with that is the best time to invest in real estate is now. You can never time the market. You can't ever time the peak or time the trough. The idea is if you're in this as a long-term play, your entry point is less important as it is your total duration in that investment, because it's like compound interest. You see some benefits in the beginning, but massive increases 7 to 10 years out. And that is really what you got to be looking at. I started this business in the middle of the recession in 2010. And I remember when I opened up the first image studios, I had grossly underestimated the cost to build because I have never done this before. And so I ended up having to take out, it was 8 or 9 credit cards, took them all out the same day online. And I used those to finance the rest of the deficit to build this store out. But that was how
okay. The Daily Coach is not endorsing what Jason is saying, nor would he ever award you the opportunity to do what he did. Because once you do it, you know how dumb that is.
No. I mentioned that only because it was a ridiculous move in a horrible economic condition, the worst recession we've seen since the Great Depression. I mentioned that only because that was my conviction of I have to do this because I knew that this was going to work. And now, because of what we've done and the path we've created, we do have, institutional lending available that is nowhere near like that. But I think that's where, is there a best time to start a business? I think there is never a good time to start a business because you can't time the market. You might, if things are really good, you're probably at the peak. And then by the time you start a business, you might be in a downturn. If you start in a downturn, you might not know if it's truly at the bottom or if you're halfway up or still halfway down. The reality is, if you have confidence in you have confidence in the business model, the timing of that is more important on the timing of your decision of, yes, I want to do this versus what is the Dow Jones at today, right? Because that's a very short-term thing. Again, if you've got the right idea, the right stamina and energy to do it, your entry point can be at any point. And that is a thing that I think matters. Yeah.
It's awesome. And in a franchise, the whole idea is that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You don't have to worry about solving these problems all on your own. I mean, that's why if you've spent any amount of time on Kim Daily TV, you've heard me say that when you invest in a franchise, we're not buying widgets. We're buying people. We're buying this. We're buying leadership from people who started the business on a credit card and will tell you that's not the way to do it. So, right? He made it through, but there's probably a lot of other stories where they didn't make it through, and then you're in a really bad situation. So the whole franchise safety net is there for you. And, on that note, many candidates during this uncertain economy are asking me questions and are, they're jumping to their own conclusions about what the answers to those questions are. I spend a lot of my time right now helping people stay open, asking the questions. Don't assume that you know the answer. Don't reinvent the problems of a business. Like, you have a franchisor to ask questions to and the entire family of franchisees who are running the business in this present economy, who have their thoughts about how their business will or won't be impacted, or maybe positively impacted by an uncertain economy. So before you, listener, jump to conclusions that what you believe to be true is in fact true, it may end up being true. But if you can stay open and ask the questions to the franchisor and validate out with the franchise owners, you're going to be that much better off. And in many cases, Jason, you'll probably shake your head at this. Once people ask the questions, which are typically related around their fear, and they hear the answers from within inside the system, not their family or their friends or people who are not associated with the franchise, but those who are in the franchise. A lot of times, if you're willing to ask the questions inside the system, the things that people worry most about, well, the other franchisees will validate that never happens. True?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and like you had said, if what are people buying into, right? And I think you're obviously part of the strength of the franchise system is not just the brand and the operations, but it's you're buying into our collective intelligence. And I'm not just saying corporate intelligence at the corporate level, like that's one piece of it, but this is an entire network of investors just like you who are all involved in the same business with the same objectives and outcomes, which is to be successful in what they're doing. So our collective intelligence and experience that people are dialing into is really geared at reducing risk. And when you really think about what is risk, I think what I've always said, risk is what you have left over when you thought through everything, right? It's impossible to think through everything because if you could, you wouldn't have any risk. But by that point, once you think through everything, you've already missed the opportunity. I think the reality is you will always have risk, but the idea is how to reduce risk by having a team who has also been through this before that you can lean on. You also, thinking through risk and how you mitigate. And then the third piece of this that is really important, I think, and I tell this to all entrepreneurs or people that are looking at becoming entrepreneurs, is I'll be honest, no one has it figured out up front. I think when you start a business, the key is to having confidence that you'll be able to figure things out as you go. Now, you may have a lot of things figured out, but we all will know as we get into business. I think one of the biggest keys to success is just understanding that at some point in time, there'll be something that you haven't figured out yet. And the most important thing is hard things sometimes can't be figured out in advance. They're figured out when they happen, right? And that's the other idea of this, is that you're not on your own having to figure out these things. If you encounter a unique situation, a unique challenge, I remember in the beginning when I was doing this just on my own before we started franchising, it was so lonely. It was so lonely as an entrepreneur because I had no one to turn to and brainstorm and say, what do you do in this situation? How have you dealt with this challenge? The only people I could go to were my competitors, and they're not going to tell me all about that. They're not even going to talk to me, right? So it's lonely at the top, and I think that's the one thing that I love now is this image owner network of entrepreneurs, our franchisees, our partners in success. This is like, as of today, we're at 179 across the country. This is a wonderful brand with some incredible people that, again, we're not just from the top down leadership, right? This is a collective group of people who are all offering their input to make the brand the best that it can be, because the only way we can do that is with a collective effort. And that's what we continually emphasize on what we do.
Hey, Daily Coach fans, if you're inspired by this conversation, I invite you to email me right now to explore this franchise opportunity. My email is inquire@kimdaly.tv. I love this brand. It affords, like we already said, so much freedom and flexibility. It's an investor's dream. You're partnered with this guy and his brother, who we'll just say this guy, since he's not here. We'll make fun of him today.
Yeah.
And part of this like awesome growing system. I mean, for me, this opportunity literally has no warts on it. I have spent probably 7 or 8 years, really learning salon suites, and it is easily in my top 3 all-time favorite industries to present to people. Some of the happiest franchise owners that I've created are in salon suites. But I'm particularly fond of image studios. Well, let's kind of wrap this conversation up, Jason. Let's have you just express a little bit of what makes your brand unique or different from the other salon suite franchises or opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, great question. what anyone's got to look at when they're looking at joining a brand, buying a franchise, is the value of the brand is so important. And I think that's where we've spent a lot of years really dialing in not only our core values of creativity, freedom, and success. These are the fundamental pillars of everything we do at Image. Every initiative, every piece of brand technology or evolution has to align with those. That's also the backbone of what culture becomes, because core values are how you behave and act, and it's priorities that you have as leaders in the brand, which then sets the tone for culture and all that other stuff. So I think when we look at what makes Image stand out is first and foremost is the brand. I think the brand truly matters. Design matters. Customer experience matters. We build some of the most beautiful spaces in the country. My philosophy from the beginning has been we are democratizing salon ownership. So we have to. My goal was I wanted to bring something people see in New York, LA, or Miami to all parts of the country, to Houston, to Omaha, to Salt Lake City, to Denver. I want beauty professionals to know that they have access to some of the most gorgeous spaces that inspire creativity. This is a creative industry full of creatives, but the spaces they work within should inspire that. So the design and the customer experience, the customer support that our franchise owners give is top notch. Our brand promise is really some of the most important differentiators of who we are as a brand. We believe we're a very sophisticated luxury brand. I've always said it's a brand that's a sexy brand that appeals to people looking for a lifestyle business that are proud to own, but they don't really want 100% of their time committed to it. Again, we promise to deliver the very best in customer service to our beauty professionals. They're number one in our whole business, so we have to take care of them. We always deliver the very latest in design and technology. And most importantly, we continually promise and commit to supporting, educating, and empowering our image owners and our image professionals as entrepreneurs. So we are obviously passionate about entrepreneurship. Many of us on the corporate level have been or are entrepreneurs. And so we love working with this collective group of entrepreneurs because there's nothing more exciting than working with people who have been bit by the bug, who just have that look in their eye, like they're like, I'm doing this. And that's who we love working with. And I think as we continue to build on that as a foundation, we will continue to solidify our place as the leader in this industry for providing these beautiful spaces to beauty professionals all across the country.
That was awesome. The number one word that I would say to summarize everything that he just said is intentional. That I was thinking that it's deliberate, like nothing is by accident. For those listeners out there who are inspired, I know I'm inspired, who are inspired by Jason Olsen, who are inspired by this conversation, I would love to meet you. He would love to meet you. Please follow the email on the screen below. Jason, thank you so much for being my daily double today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being my guest.
Anytime. It's always great to see you.
And thank you to all of my listeners. Again, if you would like information on Image Studios, please follow the email on the screen below. Until next time, don't forget that my name is Kim Daly, and I want to be your daily coach. If you found this inspiring, please contact me at inquire@kimdaly.tv. My consulting services are totally free to you. Again, that email is inquire@kimdaly.tv. I can't wait to hear from you.